2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, and I wanted to welcome my good friends Boris back to the show and Krol back to the show. So, hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
Yo,
Tammy, unfortunately, is sick with something sinusy, so unfortunately, she will be
Oh,
joining us next week, and just taking a breather. But she wanted to say she really liked this movie.
lies. If I don't hear from her, I don't believe it.
She really did enjoy this movie.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
well, I hope she recovers as soon as possible.
Yeah, we missed her. Tell her we missed her and hope she feels better.
Well, I hope she feels better too. She sounds crappy, and she started getting a headache yesterday. But hopefully, within the week, she'll be back on Tuesday or whatnot. But we'll see. So, but in any case, so the film that we are going to go on about is well, the reason why is because one of the characters in here had a connection to the court jester, which we went on about last week. This film is directed by John Ford, and it was filmed in 1952, and it was based on a Saturday Evening Post short story that was written in 1933 by Maurice Walsh. And it was later published as a part of a collection titled The Green Rushes. This film is most notable for Winton Hosh's lush photography of the Irish countryside and the long climactic semi-comic fist fight. It was an official selection of the 1952 Venice Film Festival. The film stars John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, Barry Fitzgerald, Ward Bond, and Victor McLaglen. And it had a screenplay by Frank S. Nugent. And because this is my favorite John Wayne film, I'll just kind of do a short synopsis. Basically about a boxer who ended up wanting to hide from his past and come back to his home roots, settle down, and just live his life. But he doesn't end up getting to do all of that. So let's go with you, Krol. I guess was this a first time watch for you?
Honestly, it might have been, it might not have been. My grandmother was a huge John Wayne fan, and she'd play him all the time. And so I've probably seen every John Wayne movie. So I probably saw it as a kid. Probably wasn't paying much attention because I wasn't really a fan as a kid, and that hasn't changed. Yeah, I don't know. John Wayne plays John Wayne, and I don't know. I just don't like the way he plays himself. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just kind of that overacting, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't know. It's just something about him annoys me. I know. It's opposite of most people, and especially guys. John Wayne, the Duke. And everyone loves him, and it's just women love him, and men want to be him, and women want to be with him, and blah blah blah, or whatever. And maybe men want to be with him too, but whatever. I'm just not a fan. I'm not just like Charles Bronson's another one that people love, and I don't want to like either. So maybe it's just me. I don't know, but just not a fan. So I went into this movie hoping that I get something out of it and maybe be something different that I would like. But unfortunately, there were some scenes and the Ireland was beautiful. The scenes were beautiful, so I definitely will give that a props that all the scenes were beautiful. And yeah, so that's mostly what I had to say about that on my first.
Okay. Going over to you, Boris. Was this a first time watch for you?
Yes, it was the first time, and I don't really dislike John Wayne as an actor. I'm okay with him. This movie is not something I personally go for. It's a kind of story that, to me personally, it's a bit like stuff that happens very often in the world that we already live in, or at least it was happening at the time the movie was made. But I don't know, it's just not the kind of story I would usually go for myself. But for people who are more into this kind of romantic drama comedy and so on, they would probably enjoy it more than I did. So
I
can't
like
say it's
romantic
a bad
comedy.
movie, but it it's just maybe not quite what I would normally choose to watch. But yeah, thanks to you guys, sometimes I go for something I wouldn't normally go for. So that's a good thing, I guess.
Man, to me, it's always good to watch something that you'd normally not watch, just to
Oh, I
see
agree. I
what
mean,
kind of opinion that you would have. And depending on how old or young you are, you may have a different opinion.
yeah,
Uh,
and you never know when you find a gem where in a movie you probably want to watch, and then you like, wow, I really love this movie or whatever. So you never know. I mean, it's happened. It happened with comics. It's in a similar thing as this comic book club, and we did comic books, and there was definitely comic books that I never would have read, and that were great. So it definitely it's good to open your horizons and watch something you normally wouldn't. And sometimes you find gems, and other times you don't. But and then maybe sometimes you might watch a movie where you thought it was a lot better than it was, and turned out it wasn't quite as good because it got dated or whatever. That happens too, especially with TV shows. But yeah,
Well,
well, this is definitely not a first time watch for me.
I figured that.
My I guess with all the bad relations that I have with my father, I guess John Wayne films, I kind of like enjoy because of him. And I don't like John Wayne specifically just because because he's that Western star that everybody knows, and everybody is supposed to like him, and this and that. I like him because to me, it's if it's between him and Clint Eastwood, he's one of the pivotal Western stars that I know for Westerns. And but this was the first film that John Ford had done outside of the studio that backed him doing westerns, and it is a comedy to me. It's got that.
Comedy's just supposed to laugh at.
To me, there really isn't. Um,
It's as much comedy as Napoleon Dynamite.
oh, Napoleon Dynamite was worse though. That was a horrible movie. That
I
was
agree. I agree. At least I didn't watch this movie and think I just wasted 2 hours and 10 minutes of my life. Whereas
well,
Napoleon Dynamite, I definitely felt like I wasted my life. Like I want that. I want that. However long that movie is, I want that time back. Like that was just horrible.
Typically, my dad, whenever he watches this movie, he watches it around St. Patty's Day. So, I guess he um, kind of thinks of it as more of a St. Patrick's Day movie. But
Well, see,
me,
no,
I
it's in
could watch
Ireland,
this
so
whenever. I could watch this movie whenever and still feel the same way about it. And I guess when it comes to the story line, I think this is probably where we see possibly a little bit of John Wayne's other acting chops, because
really,
I do think
it,
I
it
do
really, it really felt like he just played. He just, he just wasn't. He was
see.
a boxer instead of a cowboy. It didn't really seem like he was any different to me.
Well, it's hard to gauge him as an actor, but I do feel like he did play his part, and I do feel like this is, to me, what when I think of romance, I think of this movie.
Really,
Yeah.
out of the billions of movies out there,
When I think of romance, I think of this movie because
what, Tammy? Wow, I feel
uh,
bad for her.
uh, I think of this movie because love is not this like lovey-dovey thing. It is a war. I mean, to me,
Not quite this bad,
it's a sparring match. To me, if you love someone worth fighting for, that's love. That's and that to me is what romance is all about. This what happens in this movie. But
I don't know, dude. If you try to drag Tammy by her collar, I think she might kick your ass.
well, I guess the film gets kind of abusive.
Kinda.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised she liked it, because I was offended. Like it was just, yeah. I'm just not a fan of someone treating a woman like that. Obviously
Well,
she's
it
a
was
tough
meant
girl, and
it was meant to be a
I
comical
get
thing.
that. I get that now, because like I said, I didn't even realize it was supposed to be a comedy until after I watched it, and knowing that it was supposed to be a comedy, it doesn't really change my opinion on it, because it just wasn't funny. It was. I get what they were going for. Just the satire of it. Um, it makes more sense that they were trying to do a comedy than a drama, because it was pretty silly, but again, it just wasn't. To me, it wasn't funny. I didn't.
Well,
I mean, that like I said, everything. There was a couple of funny scenes. So, like I said, that being said, I didn't find no enjoyment. It's just, it definitely wasn't a movie that I really enjoyed.
Well,
understandable.
there weren't many moments when I laughed while watching this movie, but
Yeah.
there were a few spun out scenes.
Okay, so there's probably a one spit out scene I could see is probably the same one that I laughed, and it's probably my favorite scene. So we'll see when we get there if you
Definitely.
agree.
Yeah.
The film has kind of a different narrative because it starts out with us getting a story told by one of the religious characters
The
in the
whole
film.
town's religious.
Yes.
I
In
can't believe
fact,
they got a priest and two rabbis. It's like, what?
well, and I
It
do
reminds
think
you of a joke. A priest
I
and a
do.
rabbi walking to a bar, and
Yeah, you were saying.
oh, that was it.
Oh.
One of those jokes that start like that.
Yeah. But Father Lonigan just so happens to be the character that is kind of the narrator of the story.
I actually despite I'm not a Christian. I've never been quiet about that, but despite that, I actually kind of like that character. His character was kind of cool, and so wasn't the rabbis, the rabbi and his wife, whatever. They were cool characters too. Those were probably those characters stood out more than any of the other characters, and actually enjoyed them more than any of the others.
Okay. What about you as far as the characters of the religious characters in here? We've got Father Lonigan and the rabbi and his wife, and there is also the High Archbishop who comes and kind of joins in on the whole spectacle.
You mean the fight's over? Oh no, that was round one.
Well, I thought they were okay. What my favorite scene with any of them would probably be the fishing scene. That
Yeah,
one
that was
was
hilarious.
kind of funny.
I was just thinking that myself when we were talking about it. That fishing scene was, we haven't waited 10 years, and then he's like, he's like almost drowning himself. He's soaking wet trying to get this fish, and then he loses it, and he just like throws his fishing pole, and he's all upset. I'm not a fisherman, but I can imagine. I can imagine that being upsetting. 10 years chasing this fish.
Well, in any case, we meet the main character, Sean Thornton, as he steps off the platform in the castle town, and he begins to ask directions of the town of Innisfree.
Kind of reminded me a little bit of Wizard of Oz with that one, with the scarecrow. Well, some people can go this way, and some people can go that way.
Well, we get a cast of characters from the train depot, where they all kind of like argue about which way is best for him to take. And then I love it how Michelin, the little man, who just comes up, grabs his stuff, and he stops. He's like, "In the three this way."
Right. Right, that way he's like chasing him, like, what's this dude grabbing my bags, They never did explain that, like, how did he know he was there, and like he just became like his personal servant like the whole time. It was just kind of weird.
Well, I to me, he was kind of like the leprechaun of the story to me. Yeah, it just was there at that magical time when he needed him most, and ended up being like kind of his journeyman, to cart him around to wherever he needed, But he just so happens also be like the matchmaker of the town too. So, but also the town drunk. So.
Well, that's saying a lot, because they all go to the bar and get pretty sloshed.
Oh yeah, but I remember this movie specifically for its cool array of Irish folk songs. Where you've got Danny Boy playing, and let's see what else. I'll figure out what else later, but it's on this one horse carriage ride is where we learn that he himself is Sean Thornton, who has come home to Innisfree because evidently his mother lived there at one point in time.
He was born there.
Yeah, he was born there. And I love the interaction between him and Michelin. Whenever he's with him or together with him, I just love how his Brogish accent is very particular. Whenever I mean, when he spoke of him as a very young tyke, it was like you were this little, and now you're this big. But also on this journey into Innisfree, we also come across our heroine in the story, who is played by Marina Hera, and we learn that her name is Mary Kate Denneher. And I thought that Marina O'Hara was very pretty at this time, very beautiful.
I agree, she was.
She I may not have entirely liked her wardrobe of choices per se, because I personally, if I were a female, probably wouldn't wear some of what she was wearing. But
yeah, I don't think her wardrobes were all that great, and I don't know. I mean, I love red hair, and it's my favorite hair color, and women with red hair, I especially am attracted to. She was very pretty, but I don't know. I just wasn't gaga over her, and I don't know. I mean, and that was before I saw her personality, which I definitely wasn't gaga over. So.
Yeah. The thing that sets the romance up is the fact that John Wayne just kind of gets out of the wagon and just kind of like openly stares at her across the pasture while she is guiding some sheep over some hills. And I guess this was something that men just didn't do. They just didn't stare at people. And in fact, at this point in time, I think if you stared openly at a woman, it was rather, in fact, rude. And
Hey, look, we're back to that.
Ultimately,
repeats itself.
Ultimately, he gets into town. And I get actually we get this scene where he's actually looking at evidently his family's land, Whittemore, which is this rolling green hills down to a grotto-like building with straw. And we hear his mother's voice in his head, just go down the road. And
that's who it was.
Yeah, that's who it was who was speaking.
Yeah, see, I was confused about that. I was like, who the hell is this lady?
It was in his mind. It was.
I get that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't. I mean, maybe because you've seen it a few times. I don't know, but I didn't really pick up on that. I was kind of just like, who the hell was this lady all of a sudden narrating?
Yeah. Once you know the story well enough, that then it becomes clear that was his mother speaking to him. And when he's in town and they're speaking about him and his relations and who his mother was and who his grandfather was and who his namesake was, you kind of get that whole, that must have been his mother talking to him. But in any case, he gets into town, and I guess one of the first things he does is he goes to I guess the widow Talon and makes an offer on Whittemore. And lo and behold, this is where the other protagonist in the film shows up and basically makes a nuisance of himself. And he basically drives the price up.
He was an asshole. Well, I don't think John Wayne really cared because he's just like, he didn't, he's just like, $700, and the other guy's like $710, and he's like, we made it even grand. Well, 1,000. Oh, never mind, and he realizes he's not going to pay that much for it, but
And the Widow Talan went with his price
But-
because Danaher would go down to the pub and like spread the business, as much as
she
possible.
didn't really like him, and he was smitten with her.
Correct. Even though he had a poor way of showing it. So, but in any case, it's then he goes down to the pub with Michelin, and he meets many of the town's people. He gets a warm welcome.
He said he says he's gonna buy a round of drinks for everyone, and one guy's like, "Well, who are you?" First, like they didn't even take the free drink until they knew who he was,
mm-hmm.
and then he said who he was, and then they said, "Okay." Well, everyone was happy to take the drink, and all of a sudden they started singing a song about him. And
yep, and the song was in fact "Wild Colonial Boy." That they were singing, and of course that's when Squire Danaher comes in, and a little bit before this, we get Squire Danaher coming home after coming from Widow Talan's place, and this is where we kind of get a character to kind of set up what kind of person he is, because
that jackass he is.
yeah, because his oldest son just so happens to be like his lackey.
That's his son.
Yeah, that's his son.
I did not
Mary Kate Danaher's brother.
No, because Mary Kate is her brother.
Yes.
No. Mary Kate's Danaher's
his
brother is that lackey. So
no, he's the brother.
But
if he's
he's
her
the
brother, then he has to be Will Danaher's brother as well, because she was his sister.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, he's the brother, because she said, because when he first asked her to marry him, she's like she couldn't, because he said no, and she couldn't go against her brother.
Then he's got to be like his lead farm hand or something. He's definitely
that's
close.
what I thought. I thought they were just all farm hands, and I thought it was pretty fucked up how they were all eating, and he just comes in and they eat me out of the house and go back to work. Like, really? You can't let them eat? Like, at least have a fucking meal,
right? And he's got this book where he writes people's names down and slashes them out if he doesn't like them.
Right. You just made the list.
you just made the book.
Well, I was saying that because of if you watch wrestling, Chris Jericho had a character. He was doing that for a while. He was going around with a clipboard and writing people's names down. He's like, "You just made the list." So,
which I get the feeling that John Ford was kind of going about this movie in the respects of some of the brawling that was going to be going around in this film. Some boxing terms and wrestling terms to me, which is
I didn't see any wrestling terms, only boxing.
Well, just the name striking out is kind of like old fashioned and stuff like that. But in any case, Squire Danaher comes down to the bar, all dressed up to the nines, with cane in hand, and basically tries to initiate a fight with with Sean Thornton. What do y'all think about this scene here?
I don't really have too much of an opinion on the scene. I mean, I hear you laughing, so obviously you think it was funny, but I don't know. I didn't find anything funny about it or anything remarkable about the scene, really. So, you know.
Yeah, I think I found their final fight more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I get why he didn't want to fight him. You find out why he doesn't want to fight him.
Well, yeah, because the first thing is that he buys Whittemore out from under him, and he thought he was going to own it, and it's kind of alluded that he owns a lot of property.
Yeah.
So
he's like that
kind
that rich guy that wants to own everything.
like Potter from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Except he was, I don't know, just like an oaf.
Yeah, basically. But for some reason, I enjoyed his character just because he was that much of an oaf, and he definitely wasn't a good-looking man.
Nope.
By far, which kind of made it funny when whatever happens at the end of the film. But ultimately, we get John Wayne's character ends up the next morning. He dips his hand into the baptismal fountain and has Mary Kate Denner dipping into his hand to cross herself as she's coming out of the church. Not to mention, the night before, Micheline was showing the Irishman his sleeping bag. So they were definitely being nosy. I like the different characters from the town because they definitely seem nosy. They definitely seem bored off their asses. There doesn't seem to be much more for entertainment for them to do except for whatever's happening between Mary Kate and Sean Thornton, especially when he sends Micheline to start the court and procedures, or at least the initial party of the first party, which is all kind of funny because Micheline is obviously already drunk, and he's in this black funeral attire.
So funny, I forgot to laugh.
And he shows up, tells his spiel, and she invites him into her parlor, tells him basically that Sean Thornton can basically court her if she's able to or marry her, if she can take all of her stuff and get all of her fortune. Which these are her most important things that she must have in order for her to even think about it.
Well, he didn't give a shit about her fortune.
No, in fact, his words were where she could come with or without her clothes, for all that that matters.
With or without her clothes, and especially without on the bed.
Which his character doesn't seem to understand. Apparently, back in the States, all he had to do was honk at a female, and they would be want to get into the car. You know, he's used to women being snapped at, and being able and willing. You know, so there is that kind of thing going on.
Yes, he's a chauvinistic pig. We got it.
So ultimately, the next day, is it? I think is when Sean Thornton comes with flowers, and he comes to the door, and Squire Danaher is sitting at the table, and they come in, and they try to talk to him about a fortune, and he's having none of it. So they end up telling her that nothing's going to happen because of it, and they have to walk out. And she's all like, she comes to the window, she's all heartbroken. And the next thing that happens in the film, I thought that this was kind of a cool cool thing, is they have a steeple chase race on horses where they have to collect bonnets at the end of it, and I guess whoever gets the bonnet gets like a kiss and some flowers, or it's not really done for any money or anything. I don't think it's just done
don't
for
forget in the trophy, and don't forget this is where they try to trick the brother into making him think that he'll have a chance with his love if he marries off his sister. And so he tells her to put her bonnet up, and she's like, "No, thank you." And finally, she decides at the end that she's going to put it up. After the other woman said, "Why don't you put your bonnet up?" And
correct. Father Lonigan and the other vicar or rabbi and Michelin all kind of converge at this moment to kind of set a trap on Danaher in order to get the two together and married. And what do y'all think about this whole thing where they tell him basically the whole reason why the widow Tolan has not even thought of you, matey, is the fact that you have another woman in the home. So in order to get her to even think about it, you've got to kick the one out so that you can make yourself available.
I thought it was pretty silly because the woman was his sister. It's not like it was another woman, like a romantic woman. So I thought the whole thing was kind of stupid because, she's a female, but it's his sister, So I thought that was kind of stupid, But
but Danaher fell for it.
I get that because he's an idiot.
Yeah, well, on one hand, I also thought it was silly, but then I thought maybe in the context of the given time, maybe it did make more sense than nowadays, but I don't know. It's not like I'm an expert on history.
It did help that his priest, Father Lonigan, was in fact in cohorts with everyone.
I love how the priest was like, made sure he didn't lie, because he's like, I'll I can't deny it or confirm it, blah blah blah, So he was just kind of trying to be neutral without giving it away or without lying.
Yeah, and for whatever ever for whomever it may concern, it worked. So ultimately, in the next scene, we see that them, they've gotten married.
Well, you forgot the whole thing where he won the race. And all the bonnets got picked, and instead of picking her bonnet,
she was so mad.
He picked the other girl's bonnet, and the one the brother likes, and she kissed him and stuff, and so Mary Kate was, pretty mad about that, and which, guess that's understandable, but yeah. So
Yeah, that was pretty funny to me for some reason, because she got so angry at that moment, like it was kind of like uh,
slap in the face.
yeah, and kind of almost childish in a way, because it's almost like she hadn't grown up quite yet. She wasn't quite a woman yet, you know. Wasn't quite ready to make that leap into
They were
marriage.
both childish.
Yeah, they both were. She hadn't quite figured out what she wanted, and well, she knows what she wants, but she doesn't know how to acquire it, with having the romance that she wants as well.
Because she has that redheaded hot temper that changed at a drop of a hat.
And also, I forget to mention the meeting when he actually got Whittemore. He came home, and she was actually tidying up the place.
And she put the fire on, which he was like, "Wait, why is there the fire going?"
Mm-hmm.
Already, and was like worried that there's someone in there, and yeah.
And believe it or not, this moment where she starts to run outside the door, he catches her, brings her back, and brings her in for a kiss. That moment is captured on ET. In the background on TV, while ET is watching the television, while while Elliot's at work. He steps on the kids, and the frogs escape, and the girl he really likes, she starts to go outside the door. John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara starts to go out the door. The girl comes back. He kisses her. That's the same moment that they were trying to emulate in ET. So,
wow.
But and that's something that I remembered, and the whole thing, I think, to me, I felt like that was kind of romantic in a way. But in any case, we get this whole wedding toast, which at the end of it, Squire Danaher then makes a toast because he thinks that he is going to be married soon too, to none other than the widow Talan, and she's very huffy towards him. The nerve! Who put you up to this?
And then he smashes a glass. Spoon now.
Well, and he throws the fortune down on the table, and he's like, of all the people, and I knew that you guys were capable of this deception, but my own priest. And of course, the priest, Father Lonigan, looked a little chastised. And that's
then he throws the gold on the floor, and she tries to pick it up, and John Wayne smacks her hand and drop the gold and says, "We don't need it, and let's just go home."
And he gets smacked by Danaher.
Yeah, he gets sucker punched and knocked out.
And that's where we get the first flashback of what happened to him in the ring in the States.
Yeah, he accidentally killed his opponent.
And I think that's kind of what kind of brings the whole reason why he doesn't want to get into any kind of a fight with anyone, because the last time he fought anyone, he killed them.
Yeah.
Even though the papers said it was an accident.
It certainly was, but but he did say that in his mind, he felt like he wanted to kill the guy. Not obviously not. He didn't mean it like actually kill him, but he wanted to beat him because he wanted to win. Like it was so important for him to win. And then when he killed the guy, he realized that it wasn't all that important to win, and the money wasn't all that important. Nothing was that important. That this guy lost his life, and he had a wife, and he was a good guy, and he liked him and everything, and he was just upset about killing him.
Mm-hmm. And he told this to that other vicar that had the wife. This was after.
Yeah, because he recognized him. He kept saying, you seem familiar. You seem. Then he called him Trooper, and then he's like Trooper, and he put it together because that was his nickname, Trooper.
It has a familiar ring to it.
Yeah,
Ring
and then that's where he realized he saw it. That he was the world famous boxer, and he was in line to be the next champion or whatever, and he just quit after he killed the guy.
Oh yeah. So, and he's just he's trying to escape that past. He's trying to hide it from everyone.
Yeah, he's like, just keep it to yourself.
And this is something that he hasn't also communicated to Mary Kate, which is why he doesn't want to start any trouble. He
makes himself look like a coward in everyone's eyes because he'd rather be as much as he didn't want to be called a coward, he'd rather be called a coward than risk killing somebody else.
Correct. And to be honest, I think at that moment he was kind of right. I mean, there's a right time and a wrong time to start a fight, to be honest. But ultimately,
eventually he had to figure out that
he has no choice.
Yeah, I mean he's like here, have your sister back. The deal is over because I never got the fortune, so here's your sister back.
Well,
and she's like, you do that to your wife, and well, I guess you want to see the whole scene where he drags her from the train.
Well, yeah, because she ultimately,
I thought was really
third morning. After the third morning, she decides to go and try to leave his ass and the town.
Yeah,
because she couldn't deal with her family because of the shame, and she couldn't deal with him because of his cowardliness. So he went. I love that moment where he smacks every door on the train until he gets to her, drags her out the train, and all the townsfolk are like, here's a stick to help you beat her with it.
Yeah, that was the rabbi's wife that did that. Gave the stick to him.
That was actually not the rabbi's wife. That was actually just a woman at the depot.
Oh, well, there's another woman, so it was definitely even worse of an insult. Like, really?
Well,
don't forget they did give her a shoe back because she lost her shoe.
Yeah. And he basically drags her all the way back, and I love this.
It's only 5 miles.
It's only 5 miles, a good stretch of the legs. And everyone in town is laughing. And I'm laughing all the way through because
I was not laughing. I was not.
She deserved it. I'm honest. To me, I feel like the money shouldn't have mattered. It's love that should.
It wasn't the point of the money. It was the point that she didn't want her brother to have it. It was her money. She built it up. She saved it up. It was her money, and he shouldn't have had it. Which I get. It wasn't about the money, because the first thing he did when he got the money, she throws it in the stove and she shuts the door. So she didn't care that it was thrown away. She just didn't want her brother to have it, which I don't blame her. Brother's a dick. Was always a dick to her. And wanted to stand in front of her happiness, which, whatever. So it wasn't about the money. It was about the fact that she didn't want her brother to have it.
No, and
I deserve it.
I think the reason why she wanted to Sean Thornton to know that it wasn't about the money is the fact that she threw it in the oven, and it was Thornton who shut the door on the oven.
No. He threw it in. She shut the door.
Okay. Well, in any case, it's this that kind of starts the whole fight.
Yeah, because he goes to hit him
Oh,
again. This time he ducks under the punch and punches him in the gut, knocks him down. You think that might be it, but no, he gets back up and they go into the show. And of course, Raps, they throw the money. He goes, I'm going to go home and get you some food. Like nothing happened. Like she's just the dutiful wife and nothing happened. And he just drag her for 5 miles. She's like went home to go cook food. And while, him and her brother beat the shit out of each other.
Yep. And
she was the only one not watching. The entire town was watching except for her.
Well, and this is the entertainment the whole townsfolk have. Not only were the townsfolk in on it,
I did think it was kind of funny where the priest is like, "Well, stop it." But it's Sean and whatever the hell his name is, and then the priest is like, oh, "Why didn't you say so?" And he goes to watch it too, and they're like, "We should be stopping this. Yes, we should." And they're just watching it. You can tell they're not going to stop the fight because they want to see what's going to happen.
Well, and the police
again, like I said, the rabbi and the priest, I like their characters. Their characters are just their characters are kind of funny.
And then the police, they call police from another town, and they're like, well, what should we do? This fight is happening. He's like, put it all on Danaher.
Yeah, they're all betting on who would win, and they were giving like 30-40 odds to, and and I loved someone tried to get more money put in, and he's like, it's closed now.
And so they not only get wet, they get drunk and poshed, and ultimately it ends in them both being drunk. And
you're skipping my favorite scene.
Go ahead.
When they're in there, they're having a drink and they're like arguing, like I'm paying for it, and then he throws the drink in John Wayne's face, and then he's like, bartender, what time is it? And he tells him, and he just cocks him so hard he goes flying through the door. And that was the spit out and the funny moment.
Yes.
That was the spit out, and it was funny. That was definitely funny how he just knocks him right through the door and he goes flying through the door.
Also, when they throw that whole wash bucket at John
Well, they
Wayne.
kept doing that. They kept throwing the wash bucket at both of them. And he's just like, thanks.
I'd like to ask Krol, while you were watching the movie, when I think it was Danaher who was thrown at the wall and the wall broke and he fell out. The door. Okay, sorry. I wanted to ask you, did you also think Spudao in that moment?
No, I did not. But when you said there was Spudao moment, it made me think of that moment. So
yes.
it wasn't until you said that I thought that was a Spudao moment. So I knew what you were thinking because I was like, yeah, that's definitely a Spudao moment.
Indeed, and it was my favorite scene too.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, most of all, I did not care. I didn't care for the main characters. I just, like I said, not a big fan of John Wayne, and it's just, I mean, I kept trying to root for him because, obviously he's the main character and he's the good guy, but I just wasn't that invested in him. And then the woman, she just kind of drove me nuts. She's, 1 second she's mad, and the next second she's swooning, and then she's mad and she's swooning, then she's mad, then she's swooning. It's like, what? Like, dude, think of it, like if that's not a fucking what do you call that? The twin sign, Gemini. What the fuck? I mean, That's just like, I mean, yeah, women change their mind and something men do too, but whatever. It's just like, it was just like 1 second. It was like, it's this chick bipolar or what, like, what the fuck, She's like 1 second she's mad, next second she's swooning, and she's. I mean, the whole fact that he wanted to ask her to marry him, like they hadn't even gone on a date yet, like it just didn't make any sense to me, especially where he was from America, where you didn't do that. You didn't do that especially in the 50s. You went on, you dated.
Well, you courted.
You went steady. If you didn't see other people, you went steady and stuff. But he was not from Ireland. Like it might be normal for them to court someone and talk a marriage. Like
well,
right off the bat.
from just seeing each other twice, he wanted to marry her. It takes longer to get to know someone.
Exactly.
And even longer to marry someone, and even longer to stay with.
I mean, I do believe in love at first sight, but honestly, I didn't see the chemistry between them at all. I do not feel chemistry between them.
I saw the chemistry when she was gazing back at him while he was gazing at her. I saw
then
it
a second later, she's
when
mad about something.
She gazed at him, and also when she looked upon him while he was putting White Amore back together. When they kissed for the first time, I saw the chemistry.
Well, I mean, she did kiss him again, but still, I don't know. It felt more forced to me. It didn't feel like they had natural chemistry. It just felt forced in the movie.
Yeah, it was a little forced, and honestly, if anyone was put in that kind of a situation, obviously,
well, I mean,
a
chemistry
relationship
is something
needs
people
to be
have or they don't have. You can't blame the actors and actresses for not having chemistry. Now that's the job of the casting crew, is they're supposed to try to pick actors and actresses that have chemistry, and obviously they just picked them because John Wayne was a big name, and I think she was a big name too. Yeah, I've heard of her, so obviously they would just pick names, and they didn't care that they had chemistry. They just wanted the name recognition for the film instead of actually picking. I mean, obviously it was going to be a John Wayne film, so they should have gotten a woman that had better chemistry with him instead of her. But they went with name recognition.
Honestly, I do think that this movie is known for its chauvinism, especially towards females.
Of course, I mean that's one of the reasons I didn't like about it.
I think that's one of the reasons why I did like it, is because at a time when Hollywood was trying to be all right and proper, then there was this movie. Where it kicks leagues of ass in trying to tame Shrew.
I don't know. A couple of years later, we had the Corchester, 1955. So,
honestly, this is just a retelling of the Taming of the Shrew,
which I don't know. I never.
Basically,
I never watched. I mean, I've heard of it. I think I've read part of it, read some of it in school. Been a long time though, so I don't really remember much about it. I mean, just from the title, you kind of get what it's about. Shrew is supposed to be the old woman, and a woman, and obviously, something you have to tame. Like a horse. Like a black stallion, whatever.
Well, the Taming of the Shrew is basically about a woman who had like two younger sisters, and she just never quite married, and almost beyond the marrying age. And in order to get the sisters into their love marriages, the oldest sister has to be married. So the most chauvinistic friend of this princely like dude suggests for his friend to tame this woman, and they create a story where he's like somebody totally different, and he basically is an ass to her the entire time.
I
women
think
like.
you mentioned. I think you mentioned a movie based on that play to me once in a private discussion we had.
Yeah, and the thing about Shakespeare is this one I swear it was loosely based on it because Mary Kate she is kind of a shrew. She hasn't really been married. She's been taking care of the household for so long, and it's just finally time for her to like kick kick her shoes and start to create her own life and her own journeys. But she's always had these dreams of magnificence that aren't entirely like her responsibility because her brother is the bread winner, and it was always the head of the household who always gave permission, and that's where she has a problem. No matter who she marries or whatnot, her brother still has to like be okay with it, and that's just how it is in the house in the household. I don't think there was a dowry of any kind per se. It was just this fortune that she'd
Yeah, the fortune and
amassed.
money in her furniture was the
well,
dowry.
Well, yeah. Not only was there some money that was supposed to be passed down to her in
350
marriage,
coins.
but
Gold
there
coins.
was also money that she had earned, over time that her brother had hold of, for safekeeping, but also because I think he was darn greedy too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was
but
a greedy son of a bitch.
but ultimately, um, in the end, the brothers apparently seem to get along, um, to a certain extent, and I guess in the end, he also gets to get with the widow Talon as well. But I did want to mention Mickeline's character.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
Oh,
At the end, they're like, okay, everybody, let's all raise our hands and cheer like Protestants. And so when that Archbishop dude came in the car, they were cheering, and then after he came through the crowd, then you saw Mickeline on his cart with Danaher and the widow Talon on the cart leading out to town,
yeah.
and he told them with their backs turned, they were side to side. He said, "No petty fingers, if you please."
I missed that part. So
Yeah. Uh, I like Mickeline, especially when,
yeah, Mickeline's character was decent.
especially when John Wayne
It
and
was kind of funny when he was like up his ass like the whole time, and then when he thought he was a coward, he was just like, "Well, she left you, and you deserve it for being a coward." Basically, you know, it was kind of funny that he had his integrity. Like he thought the guy was great, but when he thought he was a coward, he's like, "Well, you know what? You're not so great."
well, yeah, and especially after like the night that they had, it seemed like they did have a good night, even though they didn't sleep together yet or anything like
Yeah, he
that.
woke up all happy and smiling and singing, and where's the wife? And oh, you missed her. She left you. What? That's when he got mad, and
Yep.
I thought he was gonna. I thought she had gone back to her brother's house, and he was gonna go there and fight him. And then so I saw her at the train. I'm like, oh, she's just up and leaving. Like, wow. And you know, and then they had that whole scene. Like I said, you enjoyed, but I did not.
So why didn't you like the fact that she was leaving?
Oh, I didn't care about that. It's the fact that he dragged her out, like dragging her out of the train, okay, but dragged her all the way through for the fight. And again, I get it. It was supposed to be like a satire and a comedy in a comedy theme.
If your wife was going to leave you on a train train system, would you do that?
I wouldn't drag her.
Mm.
I mean, I might get her off the train, but the rest, no.
Well, to me, it kind of goes with the Irish customs a little bit. The point of it was to shame her throughout the entire town because, obviously he didn't care a lick about the money, and yet she did, and he wanted to make a spectacle of it all.
I got that. I didn't. It's not like I didn't get that. I got that, but it's just like I said. I just didn't care for the scene. Yeah.
Well, I will say that that whole scene of dragging her through town, well, that does happen in another movie with Maureen O'Hara and John Wayne in the movie McClintock. It was a well-liked scene in there. They did it in there too. So,
well, they like throwing these two people that don't have chemistry together and him manhandling her. Beautiful. This is why I don't like John Wayne.
I believe they wouldn't put such a scene in a movie nowadays.
Nowadays, maybe not so much because apparently they like to respect females a little bit more. But
if it's done in complete satire, like going back, I can see why it was done, but watching it the first time, I didn't catch that it was supposed to be like a satire thing, and so it was more offensive than it was anything else. And now knowing it was satire, I still am not a fan of it because they didn't make it abundantly clear how satire was. Like it was supposed to be a funny thing. It was supposed to be a comedy. It was just
but also
like I've seen satires where they beat up each other like men and women and whatever. And it's funny because it's a satire and it's supposed to be a satire and you know it's that.
Like Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Or Fun with Dick and Jane.
Again, I love that movie too. But those movies, they're supposed to be that way, and it is supposed to happen. And it's a comedy. With this movie, it was supposed to be a comedy, but They didn't come across as a comedy at all. I think they just failed on that. And like there was a couple funny scenes, but every movie has a funny scene.
See, I was laughing throughout this entire thing, so I guess I think that I don't think women should be abused like that, but I do think that sometimes they need to be throttled, if even inside your brain.
Well, I've got it in my brain too. It's just I won't act on it.
I don't think
because honestly, there are some arguments that women have that I swear to God they aren't thinking right.
Right?
Well, I don't think that kind of treatment is right, but also we should remember that this movie is very old. It was made in what year again?
1952.
Yeah, I guess at that time people weren't probably taking such things in fiction too seriously when it's just a movie, it's not real.
Yeah. Nowadays that would be considered abuse and probably out of character. And why the hell would you drag your woman across fields and farms and stuff? Of course,
by her collar and stuff.
That part was funny for me, but I guess in this day and age, I do see how it can be offensive. But
if I watched this, 20 years ago, I would have said the same thing. So you know.
I guess I just don't find it as offensive as you do. So, I thought it was hilarious and comical for its time, especially you don't see any man dragging a woman by her collar any
No, it was
any time
offensive.
these days. It was meant to be a little bit offensive and obtrusive, but and stuff. So I get it, but I guess I feel like she deserved it a little bit. So
Oh, she was definitely a bitch, but that's what I said. Like, I didn't really like the main character.
That's exactly what we want to do with our females sometimes.
I mean, I get it, but you know, like I said, this is why I was not really a fan of either of the main characters. You know, she was just like constantly changing her mood, like from one second to the other. Like it was ridiculously stupid. And he wasn't, he was like kind of the same way. I don't know. Seemed like he was this nice guy, and then he was just kind of like this macho jerk, and he goes from nice guy to macho jerk in a split second. And the only thing he was being a macho jerk about was fighting, and because he had a good reason, and so that wasn't a redeeming quality of his. But other than that, and I don't, like I said, I was just not a fan of either of the main characters. And
I do think that there is this moment where they're caught in the rain, and
when they're kissing, yeah, that was romantic.
The storm
that made me think of Spider-Man. Obviously, this movie came out before that Spider-Man scene, but since I remember the Spider-Man scene, it made me think of that. So.
And for some reason, just that white shirt just outlined some of his muscles underneath that. I'm not gay or anything like that, but I thought that he looked sexy as a man with her at that moment. For some reason, if you cut out his ugly, rugged, Western beaten head.
Well, a lot of women found him to be attractive.
I thought that he and her in that moment, it was a picture of romance to me.
That I agree with. That was probably the only time I actually saw like maybe some chemistry or at least some lust, from them. That actually made it seem like a romance.
Well,
I mean, when I read the synopsis of the story, like before I watched the movie, I thought it was going to be a romance, and I'm like, okay, that's a little bit different, Don Wayne in a romance, but I wouldn't really consider it a romance, and I definitely wouldn't consider it a comedy either. So,
well,
again,
I thought it was funny in moments.
I thought there was a couple funny moments, but again, I've seen horror movies, Star Wars movies, like all kinds of movies that have funny scenes. So just because there's a couple funny scenes doesn't make it a comedy.
True. I guess.
But you thought more scenes were funnier than I did, so that's why to you it felt like a comedy because you thought it was funny, whereas I did not find it funny.
See, this is the kind of comedy that I get, and I guess when it comes to a certain
I mean
modern day comedies,
I'm a fan of almost all comedy. I mean, some English comedy, like I said, it's up and down. Like there's some that I absolutely love, like Faulty Towers.
Okay.
Like that is an awesome English TV show. Mr. Bean.
Yep.
But then there's some other ones where I'm just like, I mean, I remember watching a movie that was supposed to be a comedy, and I was like, when did they get to the funny part? Like I watched the whole movie and it was just like not funny at all. It was supposed to be a comedy. It was, so some of those English.
This wasn't supposed to be a straight comedy, but there was definitely comedy laced in it. I would call this like a drama comedy romance.
Yeah, I would not call it comedy
like
at all.
That.
It was barely a romance in my book.
I thought it had romance throughout. I guess we each have different opinions of romance and what romance is.
That's true.
I think that Micheline was trying to get them to court.
Well, at first he told him not to even think about it when he first looked at her.
Yep. He tried from the get-go.
He tried to warn him that she's a freak and not in the good way.
So, what did you think about the plot, Boris? Did you enjoy anything while we were meandering through this plot?
Well, I guess it's a story that some people could enjoy. I personally maybe didn't find it as interesting as some other people would, but that's okay. I mean, it's to me it kind of felt like a story about just random stuff that happens in this world or that happened at the time when the movie was made. So the story of it didn't seem that much compelling to me, but that's just how I personally felt about it. That doesn't mean the movie is bad. I think I said it would probably be much more interesting to someone who studies that part of history. For example, when the story takes place or when the movie was made, or who has a special fondness of some of the actors who played here.
I'll tell you,
but there were some.
I'll tell you this much: when Marina Harris started speaking in Gaelic, that I thought that was sexy as all hell.
Oh,
when she was talking to the priest, when she'd gotten mad at Sean, and it was while he was fishing with for that big fish, and she asked if she could speak in the Gaelic tongue.
Yeah, that was interesting. I've also heard some other people say that they like some special accents or people speaking foreign language, what it sounds like. Yeah, but there were actually some scenes that I enjoyed, especially the final fight between Sean and Danaher, of course, with all the spoonouts that happened there. You could imagine I liked that part.
Okay. I guess we've talked about most of the film and its plot and some of its characters. Did we want to talk about production now? What did we think about the production? I thought that when it came to the locales of Ireland, I thought those were phenomenally beautiful.
Yep, I agree. Not New Zealand beautiful, but close enough.
Yeah, the scenery was great. Yeah.
I definitely think they did a good job with that.
And I know I watched the Olive Films Blu-ray copy because I couldn't find my copy. I ended up finding a digital copy of the film from the Blu-ray that Olive Films put out, and I thought that they remastered it pretty well.
I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I saw that it was on
Paramount
Amazon Prime.
Plus, it was on Paramount Plus and Epix.
Yep. So ultimately, I thought that Whittemore was pretty cool looking for what it was. It was like a room place, and once her stuff got in there, it actually looked pretty, like a home that I would be able to live in. It had a bedroom in the back. Oh, I got to talk about Micheline's reaction.
Oh, that was actually. Thank you. For some reason, I forgot. We forgot that, and that was the other funny thing that I thought was my other favorite scene was his look on his face when he saw the bed. Of course, he's thinking that they had a wild night. We all know what really happened. He just tossed her on the bed and walked out. But yeah, it
oh,
was definitely
oh yeah.
it was definitely it's funny as hell the way his look on when he saw the bed. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I had forgot
Yeah, and
about it.
when the bed broke, that was another Spudo.
I thought he was gonna actually have sex with try to have sex with her, which again would have been fucked up, but he didn't. So at least he respected her there, like okay, fine, you don't want to have sex, tossed you on the bed and just walked out. And he tossed her hard though too, because she fucking broke the bed,
Oh yeah.
and she didn't even get up. The funny thing, she just stayed there and slept. And then of course, she comes out and wake him up because his friends are coming over, and despite being a bitch, she didn't want him to seem like a jackass who slept out in the living room on his wedding night.
Oh yeah. But yeah. As far as I did like the towns, the townsfolk, and how each section. I mean, we had the train depot. Um, I have never seen a cleaner train depot station than
Right?
that. I'm normally used to seeing dust or dirt or grime, or at least some homeless dudes.
The whole
Uh,
some graffiti, and
yeah.
urine.
So it was definitely a cleaner atmosphere. Oh
Yeah, but it actually probably looked like that. In the 50s, more places probably, especially in the countryside of Ireland and stuff, where they didn't have the city. I mean, I suppose if you saw New York, even in the 50s, it may not look like as bad as it does now, but I would say it's probably still didn't look as good as this.
well, I did want to say that this was a departure from John Ford from Republic Pictures. So this was it was it was done on a budget of what looks like $6,000, which at the time was a lot of money. And
No, not that much.
they did this after completing Rio Grande, which was a decent western for its time, from what I remember of it. Let's see.
Yeah, another thing about me is I don't like westerns.
So the story is set in the fictional community of Innisfree. This is not the same as the Lake Isle of Innisfree, a place of low gill on the Sligo-Leitrim border, made famous by poet William Butler Yeats, which is a tiny island. Many scenes for this film were actually shot in and around the village of Cong, County Mayo, on the grounds of Cong's Ashford Castle. Cong is now a wealthy small town, and the castle a 5-star luxury hotel. The connections with the film have led to the area becoming a tourist attraction. In 2008, a pub opened in the building used as the pub in the film, which I got to mention the pub because Michelin said, in this town, in this country, we call it Kohan.
There was another funny scene where he's riding on on his carriage trying to catch up with them when they take off, and he's supposed to be watching what they do to make sure they don't, hold hands or kiss or anything, and they take off on him, and his horse just stops right in front of the pub, and he just like looks at the pub and he's like, "Get out of here!" and he just fuck it and just go and have a drink, but the horse stops there, which I thought was funny because like the horse knew to stop there. Because he was down drunk, so he was always stopping at the pub. But I thought that was kind of funny, too. So wanted to mention that.
Another location that was used in the film was Thor Ballylee, which it was a gateway of some sort. I guess it was the home of poet Yeats for a period. Ballygalunin railway station near Tuam Company, Galloway, which was filmed as the Castletown station, and various places in Connemara, Galloway, and Company Mayo. Among those were Lettergesh Beach, where the horse race scene was filmed. I guess the Quiet Man Bridge, signposted off North 59 Road between the Maem Cross and Outer Rard, and the Whitemorn Castle, or the Whitemorn Cottage. I guess it was. I guess the cottage was located on Route 336 south of Mam. But I guess eventually that cottage fell into ruin, so it is no longer able to be viewed. But in any case, let's talk about the music. Did we? Oh, I loved the music that you heard whenever trouble was a brewing. It was whenever you heard that, you knew that trouble was going to be brewing. I thought that was kind of cool that particular part of the music was used to indicate when something was going to be amiss. I don't know if any of you realized that.
I think I didn't. I'm sorry.
What about you, Krol? Did you notice that whenever that music came on,
I'm sorry. Repeat what you said.
there was some music that I recognized as whenever something bad was going to happen. When it went like
I did not notice it.
I did. Every time you heard that particular music, you knew something was going to happen.
I did think that the music was pretty decent. I mean, not my cup of tea, but it fit the film, and so I thought the music was good. And her piano playing was good. Whether it was actually the actress or not, but that was good. So the music in the film was good for the film itself.
Well, the music was composed by Victor Young, who also did All Around the World in 80 Days,
That's a good movie.
Strategic Air Command, Son of Sinbad, The Left Hand of God, The Tall Man, A Man Alone, The Conqueror, The Maverick Queen, The Proud and Profane, The Vagabond King, The Brave One, The Buster Keaton Story, China Gate, Run of the Arrow, Omar Khayyam.
Buster Keaton story was good.
Timberjack, The Country Girl, Trouble in the Glen, Drumbeat, About Mrs. Leslie. Let's see, Johnny Guitar. I know that one. Let's see, what else? Oh, Shane. He did the music score for that. That was a western. Blackbeard the Pirate, which I know that one. Scaramouche. I remember that one. The Greatest Show on Earth.
I still haven't seen that yet.
That's with John Wayne, if I remember. Oh, wait.
Oh, you're talking about the old one. I didn't know there was a.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the
I
Lemon
know
Drop Kid.
there's a new one called that, but I didn't know there was an old one called that. So, okay.
I'm pretty sure Dwayne was in that. No, James Stewart, Charlton Heston. Okay, yeah, that one you might enjoy. I know it. I've seen it before, but it's definitely a circus-like film. So.
Oh, I know what it is. My ex was one of her favorite movies. I just haven't seen it yet, but that was the new version with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he did the music score behind Rio Grande, which is probably why he got this film. Just seeing if there's he did the music score for Samson and Delilah and Sands of Iwo Jima. Which Sands of Iwo Jima is a well talked about war film that John Wayne was in. But the one that I remember him in was The Longest Day. Let's see. Night of the Thousand. It has 1,000 eyes. Anything else? The Blue Delilah. A lot of older movies from the 40s. Ministry of Fear. That one I know. The Uninvited. That one I know. Let's see. For Whom the Bell Tolls. That's an older one. Definitely more known for like the the early 40s. The Glass Key. I know that one. Let's see. And definitely well known in the 30s. Arizona, Three Men from Texas. Definitely known in some earlier John Wayne films. Three Faces West. The Ghost Breakers. Yeah, definitely it has some early Western roots as far as music wise. All right, favorite scenes. I'm gonna go with you, Krol. Is there a favorite scene that you could take from this film?
I actually said the two favorite scenes already.
Okay.
The scene where he knocks him through the door.
Okay.
And the scene with him seeing the bed. The look on his face when he saw the bed was just priceless. So yeah.
Well, what about you, Boris? Is there a favorite scene that you could take from this movie, or favorite scenes?
It would probably be the final fight, especially as Krol says, the moment of the guy getting knocked out through the door. That was Spudow! Yeah. Indeed.
Is that your only favorite?
Well, now that Krol mentioned the scene with the bed, I also found that one a bit funny. Then maybe, when Danaher found out that the widow wouldn't marry him and he smashed a glass and freaked out, that kind of made me laugh too.
And I guess they like you pointed out before the scene with the father and the fishing, when he was trying to catch the fish and he getting into the water and then he finally lost it, and that scene was kind of funny too.
Yeah. I have to mention any scene with Michelin in it. That was great. I loved his. I loved his. His. what is it? His reaction to the bed scene that was great. But when both Mary Kate Denneher and the priest ended up swearing God's name, that was kind of funny. But I loved the part where John Wayne basically dragged her out of the train, dragged her by the scruff of her neck like she was a kitty cat, and dragged her walked her all the way back to her brother's house. And the funniest moment to me was when he he said, "Oh, it's only 5 miles, a good stretch of the legs." I get a kick out of this movie every time. I'm sorry, it's abusive and comical to me, especially since you don't see it anywhere since that a man drags his wife back to his own brother-in-law, and it's just something that I'll always remember with this movie. And though I will probably never do the same thing to my own fiance, sometimes I definitely feel like it.
I I hope you won't do that.
No, I definitely won't. But sometimes I definitely feel like doing something.
I mean, we all have those. We all have those moments where you just want to strangle someone or
It's like
whatever. Pull
it's
them by
like
the hair.
Sean Thornton does exactly what we're always told never to do, except does it. And I think a lot of guys enjoyed that moment too, because they. I'm sorry, but anyone that I've ever spoken about with this film has always remembered that moment where he just drags her ass out of the
I
car.
remember it. I just had the opposite of feeling on it.
But
I think it's just a movie. I think it's pointless that people get so offended about fiction, about something that someone made up that's not real. Well, okay, such things can happen in real life, but this is just a movie.
And the fact
I
that
wasn't offended enough to be a social justice hero or something, but yeah, I mean, I just didn't. I was offended enough that I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. That's the degree that I'm offended. Yeah. I'm not gonna try to
sense.
cancel John Wayne because of it.
No, but you can definitely tell that this was a movie of its time, where something like that was allowed to happen in a movie. It was.
Oh yeah, and it definitely just made me feel disgust for that time period.
It didn't make me feel disgust. I wish we could go back to some of them time periods.
No, it's disgusting.
Well, to each their own. But I mean, it wasn't like he was being racial or anything like that. He was putting her in her place.
He was sexist. Nothing to do with race.
Which isn't always a bad thing.
Like I said, he was a chauvinistic pig.
Well, I do think he had definitely with his thinking where he think he could honk at a girl. Well, she was definitely a bitch. Do you think she deserved all that?
No.
Do you think she deserved all that, at least in one's mind?
Again, what you can think a lot, but whether you act on it or not is what truly defines who you are.
But if a man fantasized about doing that to a woman, is that just as wrong?
No. We got in trouble for our thoughts. There'd be no one not in prison.
What about
Well,
you?
of
Do you
course.
think it would be wrong to think about dragging a woman back to back to her brother-in-law in your mind if you were that angry at
Well,
the woman for leaving you?
well, it would be wrong to do it, of course, but thoughts are something that we cannot really control.
Exactly.
People often think of even worse things, but just because they think them doesn't mean they would actually do them.
And yet
Exactly.
it doesn't take long for people to judge you upon your thoughts if you give them to them either.
Um,
Well, I mean, that's why you
yeah.
keep those thoughts to yourself.
For the most part, but in any case, I will have to say that my my favorite moment would definitely be that particular moment, and I guess anything thing with Michelin, definitely. So, is there anything else wants to add to the film?
Mm, I don't know. Maybe add I would add a few more spoonaus to it, but it's already finished for quite several decades, so I cannot add anything to it. Okay, sorry, I'm just moving around now.
Alrighty. Well, that being said, I think we have finished our discussion, at least for today. Hopefully, y'all have enjoyed our meamblings about this film. Not all of us were uh, um, entirely positive about the film, which is not a bad thing. So, definitely go out, check out the movie for your own self. You're
I
gonna have
agree. Peons
the
are like assholes, and everyone has one, and they usually stink. So, go test it
Yeah,
for yourself. I always do the same.
just,
No matter how much somebody says they hated a movie or whatever, if it's something I want to see, I go watch it for myself. And maybe I have the same
uh,
opinion, maybe not, but
I
yeah. Uh, uh, I will just say, don't if you haven't watched this movie and if you go watch it, don't take it too seriously. Of
good
course,
advice.
I do. I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said good advice.
Thanks. Yeah, like of course, I don't approve of sexism in real life or anything, but this is just a movie, so don't take it too seriously.
most definitely, because if you take movies too seriously, then you can't really much enjoy them. To be
Well,
honest.
that's why I didn't enjoy this movie.
But let us know down in the comments whether you enjoyed this film. I certainly do, and I prefer to watch this movie at least once a year, if not around St. Patty's Day. And I see. I don't get offended by John Wayne or his overacting. To me, he's like the epitome of the Western
You're right, and I don't
films.
like Western, so there you go.
And to be honest, if you're looking for westerns, I would start with John Wayne and then work your way backwards to some great ones like the Guns of Navarone or the Guns for Sebastian or
That being said, I did love Tombstone.
Tombstone was a phenomenal movie,
Tombstone was awesome.
especially
It,
since
it
it ended up
surpasses
being
it surpasses a genre. You don't
well.
have to be a Western fan to enjoy the movie.
Well, to be honest, a guy who played Wyatt Earp, he ended up directing the movie. So, um, in the end, and you can see it in its final production. I thought it was great for that.
Yeah, I love the movie.
But
I also enjoyed the Young Guns movies.
those were pretty awesome. In any case, Next week, we will not be doing a John Wayne film, but we will
Yay!
definitely doing a Johnny Depp film.
Nice.
Next week, with doing Pirates of the Caribbean
I like Johnny Depp movies.
as we're getting closer to Tammy's birthday, which is the February 21st. So it's just
My grandson's the 23rd.
we will probably be taking a break on that on the Sunday that's surrounding her birthday, so that we can go and celebrate it. But we
What
figured
better way
we'd
to
do
celebrate than with all of us?
well.
Oh,
We might be gone with my and Mayville with my family and celebrating it there, and we'll be having some ribs. So,
Uh,
but in any case, next week, same time, same back channel, we will be discussing Pirates of the Caribbean. So,
No, do you know which one or just
the first one. I always
Okay.
like to start with the beginning.
Well, I know you said one of the films, so that's why I had
Yes.
to ask because you didn't say which one.
Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, just to be precise, from 2009, if I remember correctly.
Sounds about
So,
right.
in any case, like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully, you let us know what your thoughts were, and we'll be back. So, thank you, and have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, thank you all.
Uh,